Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So the state of Washington, it voted for Biden by over 19 percentage points in the 2020 election. However, there's a Senate race that is happening there this fall that many people have speculated would be much closer than that. Some polls have even shown it being within 10, prompting a lot of forecasters, including myself, to put it in the likely Democrat column, despite initially around a year ago having it in the safe Democrat column. However, recent polling out of Trafalgar, which is a historically decent, accurate pollster, especially across the Midwest, they were one of the only pollsters to accurately gauge Trump's support in places such as Michigan and Pennsylvania, and they were very accurate in 2020 and earned the respect of their initial detractors, such as Nate Silver, who almost banned the pollster in 2020, bumping them up from a C- grade to an A- on his 538 website, which, again, we have a lot of criticisms of here. They show this race being within 3 percentage points with close to 5% undecided. Again, this primary took place about a month ago or so in the state, and we'll analyze the results of that there, but it is very possible that this could be closer than expected, but I don't necessarily buy that it could be this close, and if it is, there's a little bit of an inconsistency that's going on in the Trafalgar polling. So we're going to get to all of this and more. But first, I have to tell you guys about our good friends over at Noble Gold, whose CEO, Colin Plume, thinks quantitative tightening is setting up the stage for a gold rally. In his interview with the National Desk, Plume said the tightening is pushing the dollar up. However, he predicts that by next year, the Fed will print money again to restart economic activities. So if you're thinking of gold and silver right now, Noble Gold is gifting a free gold American Eagle coin with every eligible IRA or 401k in September. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call the team now at 877-646-5347 to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. So this poll here, very close. Murray's below 50%, meaning the state of Washington could very well be competitive. Assuming the poll is accurate, the poll actually overestimated Democrats compared to certain exit polling, which again, you can't always go off of that, but it's very interesting to see that if the undecideds were to break against Patty Murray, who is not popular, that it is very possible, if the poll was accurate, that Murray could lose. And this is not the only poll that's shown this. There have been several polls that we've seen. Some have been closer than others. A lot of the red internals have shown this between like 5 points or so. McLaughlin had it within 6. Terrence Group had it within 5. But then there have been other polls out of Elway Research. Well, that one's a registered voter poll. I wouldn't exactly trust it. But the likely voter poll out of Survey USA, which is not really an accurate pollster, did have Murray up by 18 with plenty of undecideds. But Murray consistently not being above 50% in the average of all of the polls, or just barely being above 50%, should frighten Democrats to an extent that they would have to pour resources into this race, because I believe that it is going to be closer than people anticipate it being. And if you look at the primary election results, which Democrats have been pointing to prove that, hey, you know, it's not exactly going to be as competitive as some Republicans would like it to be, because Murray did win by around 19 points. Primary turnout, you can't always go off of that, especially because of the fact that the primary electorate tends to be a little bit more college-educated white compared to the state at large, where you have a large constituency of voters in the state that are not, that probably would not vote for the primaries, that would vote election day, that would probably lean a little bit away from Patty Murray. But even so, Murray's at 52.4% with quite some time to go. Assuming that she would get around that for the election time, that would basically put her at 53, maybe if you give all the Democrat support that she didn't get in the primary to her and be generous, 54, 55 to 45 at the end of the day, because it's a top 2 primary system. That's still extremely close for the state of Washington. Is this a top flip priority for Republicans? No. Now, if the economy crashes, it's possible, but polls have shown it being close, and I think it's worth looking into, because this is a state that voted for Biden by nearly 20 percentage points, and you're probably going to see a swing in this race by 10 points or more to the right. May not be enough to give Republicans a victory, which is why I don't want them to really spend that many resources on this race, at least until they shore up some of their other more competitive races. But it's still interesting to think about. But the real question here regarding some of these polls is, what does this exactly mean regarding other races? Because the polls have this race closer, at least according to Trafalgar, than a lot of these other Senate races. It has it closer than Pennsylvania's Senate race and Arizona's. Arizona, they have Mark Kelly up by 3.3. Now, Murray in this race is only up by 2.9. And I think everybody in their right mind thinks Arizona is going to, be a close race, go down the wire, and that Masters probably can gain momentum and win. I'm not going to say it's guaranteed at this point, but because they're pumping funding back into the race, because McConnell caved into Thiel's demands, well, apparently it seems as if I think Arizona is going to flip more so than not, at least more so than I thought a week ago. And even then I thought it would flip despite McConnell's shenanigans. But still, they have Wisconsin's Senate race being at the same exact margin almost, so at 2.3 to 2.9. That's like not even a point difference between Wisconsin, something most Democrats concede will be lean R or greater, as the state of Washington. I think that this speaks volumes to the polling industry, even some of the right-wing polling industry, that they're missing something either here or there. Either they're just ridiculously overestimating Republicans in a place like Colorado or a place like Washington, where they're still oversampling Dems by a similar amount to what they're oversampling them by in a place like Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, or they're missing something else. Michigan, they have, in Trafalgar at least, Tudor Dixon behind by 4. And I agree Dixon right now probably is down by a couple of points. I'm not saying Dixon can't win. I think Dixon and Whitmer are going to be in one of the closest elections nationwide this fall. This is an election that's not going to be called on election night, and you'll probably see it get called a few days after, because that's how close the margin is likely going to be. And you look at other races they've polled. I believe that they polled, if you go down here, the Pennsylvania Senate race. They have Dr. Oz down by close to 5. That was a couple weeks ago. Fetterman is completely bungling his campaign in real time. I think everybody agrees that Oz will have to galvanize the base a bit more, and he is as we speak. And Oz really hasn't pivoted to the general, and I think it's a good thing that he hasn't, because he still needs to shore up the base, and he's still defeating Fetterman with independence enough to the point where him not pivoting doesn't really have much of a negative impact. It'll have a positive impact in the constituency that he needs to win. But as a result, I think that if you look at the polls, they show a lot of Republicans not voting for Oz. They just show them undecided. And I think they'll come home at the end of the day against Fetterman, and Oz is going to win. And I think that some of the polls regarding Wisconsin, I believe that they're just missing something. The methodology is a little off, because everybody in their right mind tends to believe that Ron Johnson has the upper hand. He has a decent amount of funding. Mandela Barnes has been off the wall with his rhetoric. Even when he had the primary locked up, he didn't really decide to pivot. He decided to call America evil at its founding. He's not a good fit for the driftless area. He tries to play into both the establishment Democrats and the, Bernie far left wing of the party's demands, but he really isn't doing so in a way that's going to, bring back those Obama-Trump voters in Wisconsin, especially at a time when Biden's approval rating in the state is underwater by 15 to 20 points or so. I mean, it's very telling. But either way, what we do know is that there's something off with the polling industry regardless, whether they have Washington as a state that Republicans have a real good chance to win at or not. I'd be more willing to believe that Smiley is down by more than 5, but Oz is winning right now, than to believe the current state of the polling based off of every metric we know, trends, where we expect the national environment to be. Because Trafalgar has, for the generic ballot, Republicans up by 6 points in the generic ballot. And I believe that this very well could be true. And if they end up winning nationwide by 6, maybe it is possible Washington is close. But at the end of the day, Wisconsin would have to vote to the left of the country by close to 10 points, if not more, for Ron Johnson to even have a chance at losing. And I don't believe that that's the case in the slightest. If you look at, 2018, for example, people might say, well, Trump's not on the ballot. Still, Wisconsin was a state that at the governorship level, in terms of the House races at least, you did see Republicans outperform the national environment by around 4 to 5 points or so, even more so than some of these other Rust Belt states, which would indicate the fact that the state, regardless if Trump's on the ballot or not, is trending to the right. And Johnson is somebody that is well liked among the Trump base. Is he exactly 100% perfect? No, but he's, I think, better than most senators overall. So something is up with the polling industry, but it's still interesting to look at. Especially in the state of Washington. If Murray in the primary was at 52, I think she probably has the upper hand. Obviously, if she was, in the mid-40s, then I think that there would be a little bit of a room for panic there. And I think that it is possible that it could be closer than a lot of people expect. But I would say that it's just wonky polling. I would say that there are a lot of factors at play here. And because Washington, again, it's a state, it's an all-male electorate. They mail a ballot out. Turnout there is going to be higher, just like it is in Colorado. I don't really feel as if Murray has a giant chance at losing. The chance is there that it's close, just like the chance that O'Day is within striking distance of Bennett is close, even though at the end of the day, O'Day is like the worst Republican candidate by far that they've put up for any race this election cycle. Either way, I think that maybe it's within 5. But even if these races are close, then I think that would indicate that Wisconsin's going to be a race nobody needs to worry about. Pennsylvania's a race that Oz will likely have the upper hand in down the stretch. Whitmer probably does have a serious chance at losing, contrary to what the election mafia is saying. You're looking at the fact that Blake Masters will likely take Arizona. Carrie Lake could take it by closer to 10 than she would by, losing, which would mean that she'd win by a likely margin. You look at the fact that if Washington's close, maybe the Oregon governorship race flips. So it's really a tale of two lines of polling here, and that's what we've seen. And we kind of saw this in 2020 in a different way, where you saw, Republican internal polls in the Rust Belt say that it's a toss-up and it's competitive. And then you had all the Democrat election mafia polls say, no, Biden's going to win Michigan by more than 5. He's going to win Wisconsin by 17 points. And then you saw the poll out of Trafalgar that showed it being tied. Interesting. And I think we're seeing a similar thing here regarding even polling on the right wing. States are either getting harder to poll, or polls in some states tend to have more of a representative sample of where the national environment is heading in than polls from other states. So it's going to be important to watch down the stretch, but something is up with Trafalgar. I mean, they had South Carolina at R+8 for the governorship only, but Democrat internals that have historically underestimated Republicans by a lot show McMaster winning by 11 points. So I don't know what the deal is here. Maybe it's 4D chess by Trafalgar. Maybe they want Democrats to just put more resources into other states and just, I guess, energize Republicans, or I don't know what their mindset is. Typically, if you poll Democrats winning some of these states, that it's not going to really energize Republicans. If anything, they could be chalked up as suppression polls. So I don't think it is the best 4D chess, but maybe they'll correct course as the election cycle goes on, the likely voter screens get perfected, etc. But either way, as for Washington, I don't know. I don't think it's a state Republicans need to put much, energy in. But hypothetically, if they do get a 55th or a 56th Senate seat in this year, it would be Washington. I just don't see it happening. But it could be closer than a lot of people expect, and that's kind of what the Trafalgar poll shows right now. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.